Jack, you have a listener request to read American Psycho, and you
No,
promised.
no, no. You have no. You requested American
Yeah, no,
Psycho.
I requested it, and then a listener also requested it, and then on the last episode, you
Yeah.
promised that you'd have it finished for review in this episode.
I haven't. Honestly, I'm struggling so much with this fucking book. I have no excuse. I just honestly, this is the worst recommendation you've given me, Liam. And that's not me insulting you because you weren't. You said I read it ages ago.
Yeah.
I just honestly, I'm struggling so
But
much with it.
what is it that you're struggling with? Because you must have got through or at least skipped over the chapters that you were having issues with.
No, because you can't. What? No, you can't skip over chapters in a book.
You skipped over the chapters where it was like a review.
No,
no.
I skim read that chapter.
Yeah, yeah. So what's your
I'm
issue
not gonna.
now?
I'm not gonna. Because what?
Well, that's only like a couple of chapters.
It's different. Is skipping a chapter that is all about Genesis, the band, is different to skipping the story and then just getting to the end and being
yeah,
like,
no.
oh,
So that's
I
what I'm
can't-
saying.
you
That's what
can't
I'm saying,
review it.
right? So you take those chapters out of the equation. What are your issues with the rest of the story?
The same issue that I've been having all along.
Which
That
is
it's so obvious and not interesting to read. Like they leave too much of the really obvious plot point they're going for, which is look at this guy who's living an executive lifestyle. Oh, also he's a psychopath, and
I mean, this
they
is
just do
considered like a classic of literature.
I don't understand why.
Okay.
Honestly, I'm finding it so boring to read. I don't know. It might pick up. Who knows? And if it does, hopefully I'll get there. But this book has, quite frankly, killed my reading for the past 2 months, and I hate it.
Have you read anything else in the meantime, like to
No,
palate cleanse?
I have to read. If I'm reading something, I have to finish that thing before I can move on. I think there's one book, genuinely one book in my life that I put down and was like, I'm not reading any more of that. And then I came back to it later and reread it and was like, oh, actually, that book got good.
Maybe you should do the same with American Psycho then.
So you don't have like 6 books at a time that you're reading?
No, I like to have one that I just focus on.
Okay.
How much of American Psycho have you got left?
50%.
And how much have you read since the last episode?
0%.
How have you not read like anything?
Well, okay, so also I discovered that Netflix, I'm allowed to download stuff for offline viewing. And
Yeah.
so the past 2 weeks, I've been watching Gilmore Girls on my way
okay.
to and from work.
Yeah.
So that's part of the reason that the gap in between the last episode and this one hasn't had any improvement.
Okay.
And then when I got to work, I had enough time to watch an episode of Miss Kobayashi's Dragon Maid.
I read a book.
What?
What?
So it's all Amanda's fault as well, right? So because Blankets was such a big book,
Yeah.
and anyone who's like listening is like, what the fuck are they talking about? Listen to the last episode. We discussed Blankets. It will make sense. I got into the habit of at night I would take my glasses off and I would read like a chapter of Blankets,
Okay.
and I quite enjoyed like just spending my nights kind of like decompressing like that and not doing anything with screens or whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
So I'd previously brought Carrie as a digital, like, a Kindle book, but because part of what I was enjoying so much was not looking at screens, I went and brought the paperback of Carrie by Stephen King.
Oh.
And
Yeah.
I wanted
You've
to
been
kind
reading
of,
it.
yeah, I wanted to carry on that whole, like, ending my night with a book. So,
You carried on with Carrie.
yeah, I've read all of Carrie.
I feel like this is a sort of, like there's a deer that's wandered onto my lawn and I don't want to scare it away. So I'm scared that if I say anything, you'll just be like, well, I'm never reading again now.
Well, I mean, that's the thing. This is like my first like book that I've read in, I think, 4 years, I want to say.
Damn.
What did you think?
Oh, no, 5 years. I looked it up because I found my old Goodreads account and it turned out it was 5 years.
Jesus. Did you
okay.
enjoy it?
So I'm a big fan of the Brian De Palma movie. And what surprised me about the book is it's not... Have you read it, Jack? Because I know you're a Stephen King fan.
I'm trying to remember. I don't know if I have read Carrie.
Okay, it's not told in like a traditional novel way. It's not like chapters or whatever. It's kind of split up with news reports or like published academic writings on this event that happened on prom night.
Yeah.
Kind of gives kind of context, and then you have more traditional like story chunks where you see different characters' point of views throughout the book. So the
Okay.
book itself is split into like 3 sections. You've got essentially, if you've seen the film, I'll kind of reference to that. You've got the shower scene, and like the build up to that is the first section. Then you've got prom night as the second section, and then like the third section is essentially like a short little aftermath. I enjoyed it. I felt like bear in mind, I think this was published in the 70s. So
Yep, 1974.
yeah, so some of the language that Stephen King uses hasn't aged well. Like there's definitely a word that is used that I wouldn't feel comfortable repeating.
Okay.
Groovy.
Pardon?
I'm sorry, I made a bad joke. I said groovy.
No, it was a good joke.
That was good. I just didn't hear what the word was that you said.
Groovy.
Groovy. It was not groovy. But yeah, so I think even like with the familiarity of the film, there's always that concern. Like I remember, like I loved Lord of the Rings, but then I found the books such a chore because I was so familiar with the story that it was only really the Tom Bombadil chapter that I really enjoyed because it diverted away from what I knew was kind of happening. But with this, I just like because it is told in that very unique, like, oh, here's letters, here's all these sort of things, here's like police reports and stuff. I really enjoyed it, and I found it very interesting, and I would give it 4 out of 5.
Right. Are
But
you going to
then-
carry on reading, Liam?
Right, here's the issue, right?
Okay, no, cool. So it was a one-off. Fantastic.
I was so excited about my newfound joy of reading that I ordered Stephen King's next book, which is Salem's Lot.
No, you're not doing it in order. I've read Salem's Lot, though.
Yeah, here's the issue with that, right?
Don't do it in order, Liam.
Why not?
'Cause that's not how books work. I know that you do that with films. Please break your chain for books. That's not how you do books.
Well, here's the thing, okay? Carrie is a nice, I think it was something like 240 something pages, which is a nice length for a book. When you're easing yourself back into reading, it's not too short. It's not too long, yeah?
Yeah.
Salem's Lot is like 750 pages.
Just wait till we do the stand, Liam.
So what I've done instead is I read this before a while back, but I reread it because I wanted to compare two different authors, their first books. So I'm currently reading Fight Club by Chuck Palahniuk.
Okay, yeah, I think I've read the book version of that.
Yeah, so I was just curious to compare like what two kind of debut books side by side would read like, and yeah, I'm about halfway through that, so I might have finished it in time to do a little review on the next episode.
Oh, exciting.
Yeah.
Ooh.
So I read now.
Nice.
Good job, Liam.
Thank you. And that was my surprise that I had for you, Jack.
Oh, okay.
I
mean,
sorry.
no, go on, Amanda.
No, I was gonna say, since it's my fault, I feel like my degree in literature has done something. It has gotten Liam to read.
Yeah. So, yeah, it is entirely your fault because I just got into that habit with blankets. It's just such a nice way to end the day.
Yeah, I used to love reading before I went to bed.
Mm-hmm.
That was my big thing.
Yeah,